Hello, I'm Jeesun, a PhD student at the Next Interface Lab from the Department of Industrial Design, KAIST in South Korea. I will be presenting our paper titled Proactive Voice Assistance Communication Strategies that Respect User Agency in a Smart Home Environment. I would like to introduce my co-authors, Wooseok Kim, Sungbae Kim, Hyeonjeong Im, and Sangsu Lee. Also, I want to acknowledge that this study was supported by Samsung Electronics. Voice assistants, VAs for short, serve as the gatekeepers of smart home. They enable voice interactions to control small devices like lighting and temperature, and also provide voice-based features such as reminders and recommendations. Currently, existing VAs have been carrying out to users' commands in a reactive manner. However, there are developments moving toward a more proactive approach, where they predict users' needs and intentions to suggest functions or recommendations. When designing proactive systems, user agency is very important. User agency is about the ability of individuals to make decisions and take actions while interacting with technology. If a proactive service is provided unilaterally without respecting user agency, users may feel a loss of control, concern over dependency, or even reduce their actual sense of agency. So, it is crucial to consider user agency, especially when designing proactive systems. However, previous research on voice proactivity has primarily focused on accurately predicting users' need and intention through contextual information. This has left a notable gap in understanding how to offer proactive services while respecting user agency. We believe that the verbal communication is the most fundamental, natural, and efficient way to enable users to exert their agency. Therefore, this study aims to explore how VAs can provide proactive actions while respecting user agency in a smart home environment through verbal communication. To achieve this, our research explores when and how VAs should communicate to provide proactive actions that align with user agency. We also examine how users perceive and respond to the VA's proactive actions and communication, and how user engagement progresses as the communication continues with the VA. For this research, we used the modified Wizard of Oz methodology. The main idea of the Wizard of Oz method is that users believe they are interacting with real technology. But, in fact, a human operator, known as the wizard, controls the system from behind. The typical Wizard of Oz, the researcher takes on the wizard role. However, the modified Wizard of Oz assigns the wizard role to the participants. This allows researchers to observe how participants, acting as wizards, express their expectations and desires through manipulation, and how users and the wizard participants interact with each other. Under the modified Wizard of Oz study, we set up a control room for wizards to operate the VA and smart devices. On the other hand, we established a smart home environment furnished with the VA and smart devices where users could comfortably stay. To create a smart home environment conducive to voice interaction, we installed a smart speaker and microphone. Also, to observe users' activities, we placed 4 cameras to ensure no blind spots, except for toilet and wardrobe area. We equipped the space with smart devices. To facilitate a variety of user activities, we provided activity resources as well. The control room has 3 workstations. In the center, the wizard's workstation is provided with a first-split view monitor to observe the user and a text-to-speech TTS app for voice interactions. To the right, Researcher B's workstation is set up with capability for searching, playing music, and controlling smart devices, with Researcher B assisting the wizard in operating these devices. On the left, Researchers' workstation is prepared for the upcoming debriefing interview, managing the wizard and users' communication logs in real time. We recruited a total of 12 participants, consisting of 6 pairs of users and wizards. Regarding the procedure, we conducted 3 sessions, each a 5-hour experiment, consisting of an introduction session, observation session, and a debriefing interview. 3 researchers A, B, and C involved in all these sessions. During the 30-minute introductory session, Researcher A and the user participants moved to the smart home. The user was briefed on the study and told the VA was a beta version under development, capable of acting proactively, making them think they were interacting with a real working VA. Simultaneously, the wizard was taught how to use the TTS app and the functionality of smart devices by researchers B and C. For voice interaction onboarding, when the user triggered the VA, the wizard proactively asked the user a few questions like about their name and favorite songs. For the observation session, which lasted about 2.5 hours, the wizard monitored the user and made proactive suggestions that reflected the user agency. Users were asked to engage in at least 3 activities and freely communicate with the VA by initiating conversations, responding, rejecting, or ignoring as they saw fit. After the observation session, researcher A and the user moved to the control room, where it was revealed that the VA was actually operated by a human, not a machine. Following this revelation, a debriefing interview involving both the wizard and the user was conducted for about an hour and a half. The interview drew upon their recent experiments by reviewing the real-time recorded communication logs. It explored the wizard's intention behind the VA's proactive communications and the user's actual perception underlying their reactions. Through this study procedure, we were able to collect 3 types of data: observation video, communication logs, and interview recordings. Out of the 1,416 communication logs, we extracted 180 proactive logs from the wizard and derived 279 sequential communication fragments. For each group, we organized the interview transcription by the communication fragment units and also noted them with corresponding video timestamps. Based on the organized data, 3 researchers conducted conversation analysis and thematic analysis until a consensus was reached. Now I'm going to present our key findings. We categorized the extracted 180 proactive communication logs from the wizard simulating the VA into 3 communication types: proactive exploration, suggestion, and follow-up. The first communication type, proactive exploration, includes that directly inquiring about personal information and verifying the user's uncertain behavior or state. The wizard directly inquires about personal information like preferences, past experiences, and personal traits to offer tailored proactive suggestions. Also, when users were not sure about the user's behavior or intention, they simply asked to clarify their assumption before providing suggestions. The second communication type is proactive suggestion. The wizard offered various suggestions to support users functionally or emotionally. We've divided into 5 subcategories: information provision, smart home controls, decision-making support, well-being advice, and social talk. For the third type, proactive follow-ups are broken down into recommendation adjustments and explicit feedback requests. The wizard immediately provided alternatives based on the user's response to their initial suggestion or recommendation. This was especially common during the decision-making process. Additionally, wizard directly asked users how they liked the suggestions to gather users' explicit feedback. When it comes to the VA's proactivity level, despite having the capability to autonomously operate smart devices, our wizard always asked for the user's approval before controlling any smart devices. Similarly, users prefer to be asked even in the most obvious situations, explaining that they wanted to avoid having to undo any unintended actions that were automatically executed. As for the VA's communication timing, since the wizard never autonomously operates devices, we only could observe times when the wizard proactively communicated. We classified the timing of these communications based on the user's activity into 6 categories: notification, pre-activity, main activity, post-activity, idle, and during conversation with the VA. Notably, even when users were engaged in an activity, Wizard made suggestions that either directly assisted or created an environment for concentration. Users found this suggestion either useful or simply chose to ignore or reject them without feeling disturbed. Let's move on to user perception and responses. When you look at how users reacted to proactive communication simulated by the wizard through the VA, we saw that users accepted the VA's proactive suggestions but also easily rejected or ignored them. However, that accepting the VA's suggestion didn't mean users disliked it. In the debriefing interviews, even though users might have rejected or ignored some offers, they found certain suggestions useful and wanted them to offer again next time. They simply weren't needed at the time. Users perceived the VA's well-being advice and social talks positively, but they mentioned they would like the VA to keep adjusting to adopt their moods and routines. Finally, to delve into how user engagement progresses as communication continues, the wizard learned more about the user and incorporated user information into subsequent proactive suggestions. When users realized that their responses were being taken into account for future suggestions, they gradually provided more detailed explanation about their reasons for disliking or their particular preferences to the VA. Moving on to the first discussion point of our study, we have found that user acceptance varies widely among individuals and even within a single individual, as their mood, state, and intentions fluctuate over time. Therefore, we suggest that VA's proactivity should not solely rely on contextual information or identifying general tendencies in user acceptance. Instead, we highlight the importance of engaging in communication with users to determine the proactive actions that align with user agency. Next, we discuss when the VA should communicate. Previous research has focused on identifying the opportune moments for the VA's proactive interactions, considering the possibility that VAs could disrupt users. These studies suggested that VAs are less likely to interrupt users during transitions between tasks while returning from outdoors, while resting, or using their smartphone, rather than when users are deeply engaged in special tasks. Our findings also partially align with earlier studies. However, our finding distinctively revealed that the VA offered proactive suggestions even when users were deeply engrossed in specific tasks to support their ongoing activities. Thus, we argue that the concerns raised in prior research about disruption can be mitigated if the suggestions are relevant and beneficial to what the user is currently doing. Based on our findings, we propose 7 design implications for VA's proactive communication strategies that respect users. First, we suggest VA should ask questions directly when assumptions are uncertain what users need or intend. Second, it is important to incorporate and articulate what users have said when providing proactive suggestions. Third, avoid hastily interpreting simple rejection or ignorance as dislikes. User acceptance and preference should be interpreted differently. Fourth, VA should seek user approval for control-related tasks. Fifth, continue supporting decision-making until users explicitly say stop. 6. Moderate the level of social talk based on users' disposition of social chatter and their current states. Lastly, we recommend encouraging well-being in a relaxed way, varying the expression each time. We believe that our application for communication strategies can be practically and effectively used to refine the prompts of the proactive VAs. Furthermore, our insights contribute to the understanding of proactivity in VAs within SIGCHI research. This concludes our video presentation. Thank you for watching.